Guess what? Ajaw wasn't wrong. He really was an almighty dragon lord who ruled in Natlan. Perhaps someone even Ochkan feared. Something far scarier than just a bratty, annoying lizard. This is the Unlikely Genshin Gamer, and welcome to part 2 of the Ochkanatlan series. Today, we are talking about the Dragon Lords Ixlel and Ajaw, and why we shouldn't take anything that K'uhul Ajaw says for granted. After all, even the Abyss is interested in him. Means there's likely something to know. Now, in part 1 of this series, I spoke about the Sage of the Stolen Flame, who's apparently been deceiving the MC, perhaps the captain, and everyone else in Natlan for his own ends. But today, we are talking about the Dragon Lords, and how Ajaw wasn't exaggerating about his lofty titles, why Kinich is right to be weary of him, and the possible reason he looks like an 8-bit digital projection. To get to all of that though, we need to talk a little bit about the state that Natlan was in at the time of Ochkan's rule, which is what gives us some info into Ajaw's business. It's best to split Natlan's history into 4 distinct periods. The Draconian era, which is really early, right after the giant war in all of Teyvat, when most of the frost nails came down. That was when people in Natlan were pretty much slaves to the dragons and were under their rule, and elsewhere in Teyvat, the Archon War was underway. During that time, the dragons were still recovering from the damage that first abyssal invasion caused, but the ones living in Natlan under the Pyro Sovereign were doing pretty well for themselves, pretty much living it up, except for the leftover abyss corruption, which was causing a real problem. This would be the region and time in which Ajaw would have ruled. But there's more. The end of those glory days came when Xbalanque became the first Pyro Archon, partially thanks to Ochkan's help, and partially thanks to the Sage of the Stolen Flame, who had been helping humans to overcome the dragons from behind the scenes, such as through enabling them to manipulate phlogiston and read phlogiston writings like them. Ochkan was invaluable at feeding the humans secrets about the dragons, which helped them ultimately take them down almost completely. We shall call this Xbalanque's era, because it was distinct. During Xbalanque's rule, the tribes were pretty well established, and the majority of dragonkind, who had devolved into Saurians, far less powerful and cunning creatures, were now to live in harmony with the humans and be taken care of by them. But when Xbalanque left, Ochkan, the troubled, mentally unstable hybrid, let this be a lesson not to mix human and draconian DNA, cracked. The signs of his insanity had already been there, and he began an era of his own with his radical, tortured decision-making skills. For one, he didn't believe in anyone ruling besides Xbalanque. So, ironically, he took on the role himself, even while thinking himself grossly unworthy, and then set a new plan in order to achieve what he thought was the best outcome for humankind. Destroy the last of dragons by oppressing the Saurians against Xbalanque's wishes, and forbid humans from worshipping the heavenly principles through the Lord of the Night and the concept of the Night Kingdom. He believed only humans, that being Xbalanque specifically, should rule over humans, which interestingly implies that the Archons in the other nations very much aren't human. He convinced the tribes to join into a grand alliance and abandon individual leaders, and then he embarked on a mission to turn Ochkanatlan into a haven for all humans by commandeering the dragon's advanced technology. And that brings me neatly to the subjects of the Dragon Lords, Ixlel and Ajaw. You see, the city that was Ochkanatlan way back in the Draconian era, before Xbalanque's rise to fame, was so high-tech that the entire city was run by a central operating system. Essentially, the security, communications, maintenance, And all the machines that carried out this business were controlled by something, and that something seems to have been the soul of a DragonLord. Meet DragonLord Type L Self-Regulating Overseer Array Integrated Processing Unit, or the lady at the end who paints 9 souls, as her real name loosely translates to. The mouthful of a name is conveniently shortened by Paimon into Ixlel. She was a DragonLord from the glory days of the dragons and astonishingly knowledgeable of ancient forbidden things. Listen to this. She called me that fated sovereign, speaking gently by my bedside of this so-called glory. The glory of vicious beasts. It was nauseating. Without holding anything back, she showed me all there was to know about that ancient empire. The ladder that climbed up to the firmament. Those weapons converted from those cannons that could tear to pieces. Those that fell from the 3 moons. The research about and wishes. It sent chills down my spine. We must not give them any chance to regain their former glory, or humanity will be powerless to stand against them. Another lady with devastating secrets to share to the ruling man to his detriment, like Nabu Malikata to Deshret in Sumeru and Sibylla to Remus in Fontaine. She was hidden away in the basement of Ochkanatlan before, but Ochkan sealed her away good and proper after that. Still, he came to understand a good many things after that disturbing conversation all the same. Among those was the understanding that the city's machines would only respond to draconian input like hers. Aside from being a repository of dragon secrets, she was who powered the entirety of the mechanisms in Ochkanatlan that sustained daily life. Machines that Ochkan needed to also operate to make the place comfortable for humans as he envisioned. In short, Ixlel was the operating system for the city thousands of years ago. And based on her statements to the traveler, Ajaw was the ruling sovereign alongside her at the time. In her words, her colleague in rulership, Ajaw, is the only other person besides the noble traveler worthy to release her from her imprisonment. Now, isn't that sweet? Ajaw, as we know, was also similarly sealed away in a ruin when Kinich found him, perhaps by Ochkan as well, or someone else before him. He also insists he's a DragonLord who used to rule Natlan from a very high city. Kinich and Anju believe him to be a truly powerful ancient relic from millennia ago. Kinich goes as far as to say that Ajaw is far more intelligent, wicked, and powerful than most people realize. Then we have his digital presence, like hers, existing in and operating a computer system from the era of the dragons. Kinich's watch provides a computer for his soul to inhabit, and then it's projected through phlogiston. Add to this the fact that K'uhul Ajaw in the Genshin language means destined rulership, and that his real-world translation means divine lord in Mayan. It sounds very likely that he was the official ruler of the land, while she was the all-important operating system. That would mean that Ajaw, this wicked, bodiless dragon soul, could truly pose a very real threat if he were to gain control of Kinich's body. And considering what we now know about the Sage of the Stolen Flame's ability to impersonate the people that he deliberately lured to the city to die, who knows what an ancient DragonLord would get up to under the right circumstances. We even got a glimpse of Ajaw's nobility when Kinich was dying in the Night Warden Wars, before his dendral vision revived him. He's a whiny, flat Saurian projection right now, but if he had it his way, people around him would truly be being forced to their knees in his presence. And wouldn't you know it, Ixlel and Ajaw have similar manners of speaking, especially when dealing with Paimon. When Ochkan commissioned the trip to explore the area where Ixlel was found, he found out more than he bargained for, and he uncovered an enormous evil that helped to create the blood-curdling tragedies that unfolded in the city. That entire story is going to be the topic of the next video in this Ochkanatlan series. Hopefully, I can get it up before the 5.3 update, and you guys will tune in to see it. Come and join into the discussion with me if you enjoyed, and don't forget to pass this along to anyone else who may be interested in Natlan's lore. The story of Ochkanatlan really is one to share. Hit the like and subscribe buttons for more, and I'll see you in the next one.